Hey everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout. It is the 6th of August, and nice to have you here this evening, this morning, whatever time it may be for you. Nice to have you, nice to get to talk with you, and happy Houdini 21 Sneak Peek week for those who celebrate. So yeah, thanks for being here. Like I said maybe in the announcement somewhere on Discord or something, I said, well, you may have already seen people break this stuff down, so maybe this is rehashing the same thing, but maybe it'll be fun to chat about and talk about, and we can kind of, just talk about the things that we're excited about and looking forward to getting to play around with. Anyways, I should introduce myself. I'm Peter. Thanks for joining us on the stream this evening. Hey, Sprawa, welcome. I'm just going to mute my Discord so that I'm not hearing that every time. Hey, Kavale, welcome, or Kaval. So the idea tonight is we are going to chat about all things Houdini 21. It's personally very nice to get to talk about these things, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited for everybody to see the in-depth launch presentation. I've been seeing some little hints here and there of things that'll be shown, and I think it'll be really great. So I'm looking forward to everyone being able to see that, and it should be really exciting. Some of you out there may work at companies where you might have access to the Houdini 21 beta. Please, if you're in the chat or anything like that, please don't mention anything that isn't on the sneak peek. I think that goes without saying, but I just want to make sure that everybody's playing by the rules, because there are, things that we have all signed, whether from our companies or from working at our companies, things like that. So please, just let's be mindful of the things that we've been asked to do. So anyways, so tonight we probably won't be doing a lot of actual Houdini stuff. But if you have any questions about Houdini stuff, as we're going through this, or any, whatever, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Comments, questions, anything like that are really welcome. And to be honest, I'm really curious about things that you guys are interested in with the sneak peek, because I can just sit here and say, well, this is this and this is that. That's fine. But I think the more interesting thing will be if you guys have questions about things that you've seen, or just observations or things that maybe didn't completely make sense, that you kind of understood or whatever. We can talk about them a bit more, and I'll do my best to hopefully answer your questions without getting into anything I'm not supposed to. And I think we'll be all good there. But I think a lot of stuff was released in the sneak peek, which is great. And as always, there's the nice, long, crazy fast scroll at the end that you can pause and look at fun stuff in there. Maybe we'll find a couple interesting little nuggets in there. There's a lot of stuff that kind of goes by quickly, but we can certainly do our best to see if we can pick anything out of there that might be of interest. There's one thing that I actually know in there already that I'm very interested in playing around with, and we'll get to that maybe a little bit later. Oh, and actually, when we get to that part of the stream, of the sneak peek thing, I found a really interesting thing with YouTube. So I'm super curious about what's going on here. And we'll actually probably have to pull up Vimeo at that point, because it's really hard to see what's happening in YouTube. But that'll be a story for later in the stream. So I think what we're going to do first is let's just watch the sneak peek, I guess. Everybody's probably seen it already, but if you haven't, it'll be a little recap. I'll let it go and just kind of let the stream do its thing. So we'll do that for a second here. So why don't I... what do we got here? Okay, jump on over to this nice dramatic cross dissolve for no reason, and let's play this down. Oh, that button doesn't play it on my stream deck. This button does. There we go. Fun music. Music is I think they put it in here. Reichsop, and I've actually listened to some of their stuff a long time ago, and it was pretty cool. But it's neat that their music's in here. Lots of muscly stuff here at the beginning, which is interesting. And feel free to jot, um, you know, comments or questions in the chat as these are going by, and you're like, oh, I wanted to. Oh, that's kind of cool. Feel free to throw some questions in there, and we'll talk about it and see where we go. I think this is everybody's favorite scene from this. Big shout out to Peter Sinitra, I think, which is who made this piece, and we'll actually be giving a talk at SIGGRAPH, and that should be up on the website. Probably the week after SIGGRAPH, so should be pretty cool to watch. Hey Ruben, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Man, that whipped cream. Not only does it look unbelievably awesome, it makes me really hungry. So good NPM stuff. Fun. So the developer that does all the NPM stuff makes a lot of the NPM uh, demos, and yeah, he does some really awesome stuff. They always look really great. Alexander. No, that's from someone else, but lots of cool stuff. The RBD car stuff here, which is cool. I haven't technically played around with this really in Houdini, and I just haven't had a reason to, and like setting up a whole car to crash and everything, but I've heard it's really fun, and you can also like drive stuff around using like controllers, which is crazy. I know they demoed that maybe last version, if I'm remembering correctly. Terrain stuff. Lots of cool terrain stuff. And cops with terrains, so that's exciting. Lots of new pattern generators, which is cool. Very cool. Cops Baker, make your own bread. I was like that. Houdini Engine, I think Sprawa mentioned this in the chat. Lots of textures and things like that going. If I remember correctly, I want to say this Andre, I want to say that they did the feather stuff, I think, in the couple releases ago. I think. That name just seems so familiar, and I think that's who that was. Gausian splats, so that's kind of interesting. Geometry lights. These are nice. Nice features. Very nice. Carlos, I can't give it away. There's a chance it might be in the sneak peek somewhere. I'll say that. All this rigging stuff looks so cool. I'm not a rigger, I'm not an animator or anything like that, but it just looks so fun and very, very exciting. Hopefully it'll be really helpful for all the animators and people that are trying to get into that. This is obviously quite a departure from things previously. I've got some track stuff in here, so that's kind of cool. Shot sculpting, which is a lot of should be interesting too. Again, I'm not this artistic, so I would have no ability to do any of these things, but kind of cool. Lots of new shelf tools, lots of new pyro shelf tools. Pretty cool. I love that there's some like NPR stuff in there being shown as well. Ah, yes, the machine learning volume upres. I think there was actually a presentation on this at FMX, if I'm remembering correctly. They didn't publish it because it was so early from H21, but I think I have a feeling that that'll get released because they talk all about that whole workflow. Ah, cops, sparse pyro. Interesting. The flow 2D. I have a feeling a lot of the people in this Discord will like that stuff. Oh, question. Houdini Indie has all these features? Sure does. Every single one of them. Indie doesn't have any different features other than just what kind of commercial clients you can use it for. Lots of cop stuff, curves, things like that. Yeah, lots of cool stuff in there. And then the super slow scroll at the end. Houdini. Cool. So that is the sneak peek. All right, end of the stream. Bye, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, there we go. Lots of fun new stuff. I think it should be pretty exciting. So let's go back through some of these comments here, and yeah, feel free to ask questions about them, and I'll maybe give some of my thoughts on these things too, and just kind of observations on what's in the video. I will say that there are some things in here that are shown that aren't really called out, so I'm kind of interested in that. Like I don't know if I've seen anybody like really break down all of the things, because there's a lot of things, but there's definitely some little hidden kind of things in here that I don't think everybody would notice right off the bat. So I think if you're really eagle-eyed, you might find some extra little things here and there. But I am not going to be the one to point them out, because then it's more of a surprise for the next part of this. But yeah, I just also unfortunately know what I'm looking for, so so I'm kind of a biased observer. But let's go back and go through some of these things. Okay. So Sprawa was saying, I'm interested in cops and Houdini. I was talking about that thing just like that with someone mentioning it was a big disadvantage that they don't work in Unreal in real time. Yeah. So just like always with the Unreal stuff, I think the caveat is always going to be that these aren't runtime things, right? Houdini Engine can't run in Unreal at runtime. That's just not how it goes. I'm going to mute this so that we don't have to keep listening to the music. But here's the section where we've got the Houdini Engine cop support right here. And so, yeah, so we're obviously just setting up a cop network, doing some, just like normally with Engine, you're going to set up some sort of maybe special parameters or attributes or things like that are going to tell Engine how to kind of interpret that for Unreal in this case, or for any other engine type plugin. So yeah, exactly. Not real time, but in the plugin. Exactly. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that it's not going to be a real time thing. This isn't going to be like your character does something in Unreal and all of a sudden Houdini recooks a texture and here you go, you've got a new texture. That's just not how Houdini Engine works. If you think about it, the reason it really kind of can't work that way is because we're giving all of Houdini in Houdini Engine. And so therefore you need a license to run that. And so every game would have to have a license of Houdini or some way to pull all of that stuff in. We really that won't be a thing. Now, I don't know all of the ins and outs of how this works. So yeah, I'm not totally sure. I'm sure there's other things in engine that might be new. This little dialogue here looks new to me. I'm not like a super like expert in Houdini engine, but I have used it a little bit, and this looks new to me, so it's kind of interesting. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing there. Just Heat Seekers TV is asking if I do request for projects. I'm guessing you mean request for projects on the stream and not like for higher commercial work, because I can't do for commercial work right now. If you have ideas for streams in the future, I'll throw this in the chat real quick. You can go to HoudiniHangout.com. There's a Discord invite there, and there's a topic suggestion channel that you can throw topic suggestions in there. And yeah, face made of diamonds is kind of a cool idea. Never really thought of that. That's kind of cool. That's what I would maybe take a look at. I see. Sprawa again said so much new stuff in Cops. Yeah, all of these new grungy kind of textures is a new thing in Cops. That's pretty neat. A lot of like material presets and things like that. So hopefully that'll get people a little bit quicker to their like finished results type of a thing. The other thing I think is important to maybe think about with some of these things is that we did add that recipe, the recipe system in the last version of Houdini. And so that's kind of like the new way of doing presets, I guess, in some ways, if you want to kind of think of it that way. So I think a lot of these are going to be, if not all of them, are going to be some sort of recipe-based system where you're going to be able to put a recipe of nodes down, kind of like how things used to be, things were with like pyro configure, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And now I think those are getting changed from being these like kind of hard-coded presets into these recipes that are a bit more user definable, user controllable. And I mean, obviously they're defined from side effects, but you can make recipes that would work very similarly from other setups that you might have. So just something to keep in mind as well is that a lot of these presets are that way, right? Where you have the ability to do to set up your own presets quite a bit more easily than was the case in the past. So I'll just repeat again for anybody that may be kind of coming onto the stream a little later. If you guys have any questions or thoughts or ideas about this, or just like kind of things that you're interested in, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll talk about them and chat about them. If you have any speculations about these types of things, that's cool. I'm here for as long as we are all chatting about Houdini 21. And like I said, I know a lot of the stuff that's in here. So although some of this stuff is a surprise to me too, or things I haven't seen yet. So there's just so much stuff happening. It's hard to keep track of it all. So I mean, there certainly is tons of stuff in here. But I want to chat with you guys about it. So yeah, if you have any comments or things like that, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Shred Major, hello. Any advice for exercises to try and learn NPM? For NPM, well, first of all, there's a lot of really nice new things coming in NPM. I think that's going to be a nice area of development. I think any exercises to try and learn NPM. Well, I would, first of all, before you even get anywhere, we talked about the presets. I would first take a look at some of those NPM configure blank and take a look at those and see how those are built, because there's lots of good examples in there already of, hey, this is how you would do a stack of pancakes with syrup on it, or this is how you would do something getting cut up, or snow, or a snowball doing this, or tons of different things like that. So if you haven't even started playing with NPM, do some of those things, and I think that's a good way that you can kind of learn a little bit more about NPM. I mean, if you're trying to get into NPM, probably most of these examples are way too complicated of things for you to like start with, right? Try something simple. Try some snow getting thrown at something. Try something splashing in some mud or something like that. Something simple that's going to start to get the concepts down. you know, obviously this scene is all NPM and incredibly, you know, there's just a lot of different elements to it, right? So if you wanted to do something that started to understand the thing, kind of take them and break them down piece by piece, maybe understand how the rigid kind of stuff breaks and cracks and how you can control those things, you know, different things of that nature. And I think that'll get you into a lot better place to then start trying some more really, you know, advanced things. But yeah, I think that's always my advice with simulation. Start small. Don't try to make, you know, this whole scene here, you know, where you've got all these things mixing and blending and all that kind of stuff. Just do, you know, just do some viscous fluids or something like that. Do something like that and just start simple, because I think a lot of times we as artists, we try to break off a lot more than we can chew, and that can cause, you know, just a lot of headache and trouble. And then you're just hitting every second you're running into something that's, that you just have no clue how to even approach. And that can just be really deflating and hard to do. So yeah, well, actually, Shred, one of the cool things is I'm actually here. I have Houdini open right here. So if we take a look, this is Houdini 20.5, just to make everybody aware of that. I'm not doing anything crazy here. Let me open this up. And yeah, so Geo. So let's drop this down. And if we look at the npm configure. Oh, sorry. Wait. Did I type something wrong there? What is happening here? There is npm stuff here. Oh, there's something wrong with my install. That's really interesting. I am going to discard this real quick. Sorry about that. Looks like there's a bug in there. I may have to report that. Hold on one second, folks. I am going to go back to the last production build, which I think is 654, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm going to start that up. I'll just leave that up for a second here. Yeah, it's not bringing up any of the configure nodes, so that's curious. There must be something. It's probably something in the bug with the recipe system, because I'm pretty sure all of those npm. There we go. Look at that. Yes. Interesting. I think this is going to be the same issue. Oh, that's very exciting. Yep. That is super exciting. Yes. Yeah. So sorry, Shred. Your question is: are they still going to release builds that will fix bugs? So yes, they will. Let's do this one here. I'm going to go back a little bit. Sorry about that. Yes. So let's see here. Let's go to sideeffects.com and we can give a little information here while we're let's see here. Logged in. Great. So if we go to, or sorry. If we go to download here and you go to, sorry, let me just log in. Yeah, continue. Great. If you go to the daily builds here, you'll see that 20.5 has daily builds. Houdini 20 has daily builds still, and production builds as well. I don't think 19.5 has daily builds anymore. I think it's just, the, I think it's just production builds and stuff. So I think 20 and 20.5 right now have daily builds. So yeah, definitely older versions get daily builds and still production builds and things like that as needed. So there's definitely bugs getting fixed and backported and things like that. So if you go to the documentation, or sorry, the changelog and look at these, you can go back and see 19 update to that was in July. So yeah, there's new fixes, version 14.19. So lots of things change in Houdini all the time. So I'm installing that one. We'll open that up in a second. We can talk about it. Cavalli is saying, definitely get out early basic iterations of your effects to get feedback ASAP, even if it doesn't look pretty in the beginning. Yeah, more iterations, the better. Definitely a thing to keep in mind. So we'll take a look at the configure stuff in a second, and we can kind of talk about that more. But if anybody has any more questions or interesting thoughts or observations about the sneak peek, feel free, drop them in the chat. We can take a look at it. This is one. I'm just kind of scrubbing around here. This is Gausian splats. So this is a new thing. I'm pretty sure this will be an alpha kind of level update. It's not going to be like, it's not going to be like this like fully featured thing where you can just go in and just do whatever you want in Houdini, kind of like you can with points and primitives and things like that. But I think it'll be pretty cool to see it working and mess around with it. It's obviously the initial support for Gausian splats, so there's support for it. CG Forge, super excited for... Hey, Tyler, how's it going? Super excited for the new NPM features coming soon. Are you able to share what some of the main improvements are from H20 to 21? Well, we can kind of look through it and take a look at some of the things here. I think one thing that you'll notice kind of right off the bat is that all of these like rigid kind of scenes are a lot nicer. Rigids were kind of something that was tricky to deal with in the last version. So you can kind of see that we've focused on a lot of like rigid type simulations. Like if we go further here, obviously here you've got, we're keeping the UVs on some of these rigid pieces. Like here we've got big rigid chunks that are like kind of trying to stay together, things like that. Like here we've got this setup here where big pieces are breaking apart. But we want to keep them in chunks. Here you've got metal fracturing, but you still have like good surfaces and things like that. So I think it's pretty obvious from this that that's a kind of point that we've tried to focus on, basically, is that there's a lot of like rigid type things. And obviously the what do you call it? There's the meshing tool set with UV preservation. Here you've got point and grid-based surface tension, so that's nice. So we can do better surface tension here along like the front and side of cars and things like that. So there's a lot of like I feel like across all of Houdini 21, a lot of the updates are kind of like it's not like they're last release we had Copernicus, right? So that's like huge. Like that's a huge new thing that's kind of brand new. And NPM as well was brand new. This time there's not really like that huge brand new thing. It's like everything got these like really nice like medium upgrades. You know what I mean? Like, so smushing food looks really fun too. Yeah, the smashing of everything is really fun. So I think this, like my kind of impression from this is like we've got a lot of like medium level, like really nice upgrades to things across the board. It's not like there's this brand new thing here that nobody's ever touched before and it's a whole new solver and all this. I mean, there are some new solver. Obviously, there's always new stuff, new things. But like it's muscles, right? Like it's an update to muscles. It's this, it's kind of iteration type things. So I think that's kind of my takeaway from this whole cycle, this development cycle of Houdini, is that it's kind of like that's what it is. There's no like this is like the brand new thing that nobody's ever seen or heard of before. So hopefully that kind of answers your question, Tyler. I mean, certainly there are improvements, like really specific things that I've kind of heard of or seen, and I feel like there's probably some stuff at the end there that we can maybe take a look at and see some stuff in there. So I'm going to try to open this up and see if I can show those configure things, because we got a little error going there, and I'm going to have to report that because it seems like there's a recipe error in 20.5. And everybody might be a little busy with 21 and might have missed that. So, unless it's just on my side of things here, which I guess it could be. Wow. Interesting. That seems like we've got an error again. Oh, no problems, Brava. I don't think they talked about anything else in here. There might be some in the scroll at the end. We can kind of take a look at that and see. I think there's some details in there, and I'll go through it. We can kind of like poke through it and see what's in there. So, yeah, this is really strange. I didn't remember this being a problem in that recent of a version. Let me see if I can go back here and check it out. Daily build. Let's check this one out. Yeah, nobody has to apologize if we can't talk about things. That's okay. I don't mind. I wanted everybody to know that ahead of time that I might plead the fifth a few times. So, it's having a public thing like this is very tricky to like, I don't know. It's a really tricky fine line to walk. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to try to install that again. Yes. So let's see here. One thing that I'm like personally just really excited about, and I think is pretty cool, even though I'm not like an animator, is okay. Interesting. So it's something on my end. npm configure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's really strange. There must be something. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Yeah, exactly. Must be something on my end. I'll have to look into that. Very strange. Very strange. All right, I'm gonna minimize this. Let this go. Yeah. So the one thing that I think is really cool is this. Here, we've got motion mixer that has like a new NLE here, which is kind of cool. Like it's basically giving you like tracks, right, that you can actually like mess around with animation and change and do all sorts of stuff there. So I think that's really cool. And it's an interesting new like UI tool that could be in there. And again, here we've got sort of an NLE looking thing with the shot sculpt. So I think this is a really exciting, just new thing that's coming in, that's like kind of added into Houdini that can be, I think could be pretty useful for all sorts of tools and things like that in the future. And just for, I just think it's a really nice looking. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Oh yeah, rename your prefs folder. See if that helps. I can try that. Basically, just blast that out of there. Sure. Good call. Yeah, I'll try that. Well, it's installing and everything right now, but we will give that a shot. I don't know. That's really strange. I don't know why that would be happening. I wonder if it. Yeah. Anyways, we'll figure that out. But yes, I think this is really cool, and the shot sculpt thing is pretty neat because it's like you're like deforming the geometry into. Yeah, I'm sure it's super time consuming, but I think a lot more like in production stuff. I think that happens a lot more than you might think. Because I hear about shot sculpting a lot of times, and I'm like, I don't understand really why that would be a thing, but I think because rigs are hard to like make so that you can't, I think it's hard to make them so that they never have intersections or anything like that. And like animators are just doing things sometimes. And like, yeah, I think sometimes you need to make little edits and stuff like that. So, there we go. From someone who knows the industry quite well. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, shot sculpting is very common. Exactly. So, but yeah, I think all this stuff is going to be really, there we go. Cool. So yeah, Michael's excited about the workflow as well. So I'll take that as a good stamp of approval. Oh, by the way, how many views does this have? 88,000 in 2 days, basically. That's pretty good. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think this is a cool new like UI thing to see, a different way to like interact with timeline type stuff. I think that's cool. So yeah, any other questions or thoughts or anything like that while my Houdini's doing its thing here? All right, let me now do my preference folder thing while we're talking here and while we're going. Let's see here. I'm going to try to launch it again. We'll see if we get any. See if we get anything here. Nope. See, it's actually something in my... Oh, you know what? I wonder if it's one of my... I was going to say, I wonder if it's one of my packages, but that would have blasted away my packages. So it's not anything there. Interesting. Yep, not sure what that's all about. I'll have to look into that. Anyways, there's lots of presets in there, so take my word for it. They're good. I'm gonna delete that. This here. Sorry, I'm just doing something on my second monitor. All right, great. Cool. Any other questions? You know what? So we had a question about Houdini engine. That's right. So let's go to the end here. See if we can find anything on Houdini engine. What do we got here? Plus and minus, CFX, geometry modeling, Pareto crowds. So this is a really strange thing here. You're not going to be able to see it on this side of it, I don't think. But there is literally, like, these aren't words anymore. They've gone away from being words. It's like AI has blurred this out. I don't understand what's happening here, but it actually can't figure out what those words say. And so they're just literally like, I know what word this should be, and it's just mush. And I think it's some sort of like AI compression that they're doing now. It has to be, because it's not saying actual words, and it should just be really, really like, it just doesn't look like normal compression. So it's very interesting to me. Let me see if I can do Houdini 21 Sneak Peek Vimeo. There we go. This should be able to do that. We should be able to read this a little bit better. Oh, by the way, I saw this at the end and I thought this said Goldfarb. So that's funny. All right, let's see here. So I think this will do, yeah, one frame by frame. Yep, I can actually read these things here. You probably aren't going to be able to, but let's see if we can find any. Yeah, it actually is. I can't believe you can see it, but if you can do this same thing on your own home computer, you'll see the difference, and it's crazy. Like, you can actually read it on here, and it's not like gibberish. So very interesting. I was wondering why I was. That's my only guess. I'm just guessing. I have no idea why it's impossible to read, but I think it's just literally, it's trying to AI it on some level, and it's just turning it into absolute gibberish. So here's all the Houdini engine stuff. So, and honestly, to be completely honest, I know what none of this stuff is probably, so that's pretty fun. I can speculate too. Houdini asset editor for Unreal. Not sure what that completely means. Probably some UI thing that you can go in and mess with your assets in Unreal. So that's cool. PCG integration, that makes sense. Obviously, PCG is a big thing with kind of the procedural instancing type thing in Unreal, and so that's pretty cool. Performance optimizations, different support, API stuff. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, like startup times, things like that. So I think it's some quality of life stuff in here. Honestly, I think the PCG thing's probably going to be a big kind of update. The asset editor sounds like it could be cool, and performance in Unreal. So that's obviously welcome. Sorry. Somebody said that you can do brightness in. Can you actually do that in here? Is there a way to do that? If you know the way to do that, I'd be kind of curious. I don't know how to up the brightness on Vimeo, but that's kind of cool. Anyways, um, yeah, plugin performance optimizations. I think that'll be cool. Yeah, so that's pretty neat. Lots of cool things in there. What were we at here? Yeah. So, yeah, lots of. Oh, of course, yeah. No, hey, it's here. That's what we're here to chat about. Actually, I'm just gonna stick with this one because I kind of like that I can go like, I don't know, the full screen's kind of nice. Let's go through this here and see one other thing that I forgot about. All of the Copernicus stuff. Where was that? Oh, yes. I made a capture and fixed the image in Nuke. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I'm not going to do that, but that's cool. Here I think is where we start getting into the cop stuff. You know, maybe I should do this. Because then I don't cover up the text at the bottom. That's all right. I think this will be good. Nope. Does that literally cover up the text? Oh, that's so annoying. Okay. I think I can actually read it in here, can't I? Yeah, it goes away quicker maybe. Anyways, so Sparse Pyro 3D. I think that's kind of cool. Cop Flow. I think this is going to be something that a lot of motion graphics people really, really, really like. So yeah, I think these that is terrible too. Sorry. All right, I'm just gonna go back over here because I think the quality of this is just nicer. Yeah. So this flow is a really, I think is going to be really great for a lot of like motion graphic style stuff and doing just interesting like texture based stuff. I think it'd be cool. Reaction diffusion. Now that's a funny thing because like when I first started getting into Houdini, that was like all the rage in like the C4D world and motion graphics and things like that. And people were like losing their minds about that. So that was a big thing. So yeah, that was kind of cool. It's just fun to see that now just like implemented in there. Yeah. So one thing that I'll say here is that, you know, this is a Sparse Pyro 3D. So it's kind of cool. So that 2D sim happens in UV space. So I think it's important to always remember, like here, this Cop Flow 2D. Cops, or Copernicus, it operates in a 2D fashion, but it stores three-dimensional data, right? So Cops always is working in 3D. So no matter if you're using 2D images to drive it or do whatever, like all of the Cops has a reference camera for every object. Now it could be just the zero, you know, what is it? Is it 0 to 1, 1 to -1? Kind of might be in that space, right? It could be in the just kind of XZ plane. Yeah, XY plane. And it could just be there. It's set in that kind of reference point, or it could be from a 3D point in space from a camera. So Copernicus always knows about 3D information. So yes, it works like a 2D solver and it operates in a UV space, like from its kind of nature, but it is still working in 3D. It's like, like working in 2D in cops is almost like doing like a 2D, what is it? Can you do a 2D smoke sim? I think you can, right? In DOPS. So you can do like a 2D smoke sim. It's kind of the same idea, right? Where it's like you're just taking a slice of a volume. It's basically the same concept in cops, right? Because we're using kind of that volumetric type data thing, almost like a height field, to store this information. It's a little different than that, but I think the concept is fairly similar. Again, I'm not a developer, so I don't know all of the very intricate details of how all those things work. But so yeah, it is working as like a two-dimensional thing, but it does still know about the 3D stuff. So that's kind of where this Sparse Pyro 3D kind of is a really interesting thing, because it's like, it's in this weird world where like you're using images, but then there's 3D. It's like, it's just weird. It's like a weird thing. I'm excited for everybody to see how it actually works, I think. Because it's super fascinating to like actually see it, like more than just a demo, like a pretty picture of it. But you can obviously see that it's outputting 3D data, right? So like you can see there's a bounding box, you can see all that stuff. So it is a 3D thing. So it's wild. It's very interesting, and there's lots of there's lots of ways that this can be like could be poked and prodded and just done weird stuff with it. So Shred is just saying in the chat, this would be really good for a rigged fire character. Yeah, I mean, it could be. It could be. I think the thing that is an interesting thing to read here too is that it's a sparse solver, so that's kind of nice. That's going to mean it's fast, right? So that's kind of nice. So it's not going to, like, this is going to be like a simpler way of doing pyro than you would do in a true DOP simulation, right? Like it's not going to be, it's not going to be replace, they're not going to do Avatar with this, right? I mean, they don't do Avatar with Houdini, but they wouldn't do it with this because it's, you're still kind of in this 2D world a little bit. But yeah, certainly you could do some rasterization of a character and do things like that. Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you could do with it, but it's certainly made to be a fast solver. So, and so is this flow solver, right? It's a fast fluid solver. So it's like, does all these sorts of different like fluidy type things. And, so yeah, there's lots of like really exciting, I think, cop simulation stuff, which is like, when I first saw cops, I was never like, oh, you know what? We should really do simulation in cops. Like, I never thought about that, but it's cool. It's a cool, you never know what people are going to come up with. So, yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, the continuous activation control is an interesting, like little end tag on this. So I think that's something to keep an eye on too, because I think that'll be kind of a fun little thing to kind of learn about. I think it'll be kind of cool. So hey Fractaler, how's it going? Nice to have you on the stream. Known is saying, can you guys wait a few years before releasing H21? I'm still learning H20. Yeah, I feel you. I'm still digesting I'm still really digesting Apex, like the Apex rigging stuff. Like the Kinefx with Apex. That's still something that I'm really trying to digest a little bit. I think I understand the Apex side of it a little bit more than the actual rigging side. So that's the tricky part. Like, I understand some of what Apex is doing and like the structure of like how it's doing, how it's set up, but the rigging side is like total Greek to me. So I'm trying to figure that all out. But, yeah. So anyways, yeah, I think that stuff is really fun, and I can't wait to see like what all of like the motion graphics people come up with this, because I mean, like, this is just like a lot of quad remesh this year. Oh, cool. Yeah. And that's still in beta too. So that's exciting. I wonder if they talk about that in here at all. Let's see. Is there anything about the quad remesher? Oh, cool. Yeah, right here. Adaptive quad remeshing for improved results on organic geometry. That's cool. Anything else in here? I miss something here, but ba-ba-ba. No. I think that's the main thing, adaptive quad remeshing. So that's kind of cool. So there should be some quad remeshing stuff in here. Read about quad remeshing in an unsubdivide. Where would that be in here? Um, I would love side effects to adopt Modeler for Houdini plugin. Life would be so much easier. Yeah, that's the tricky thing. I don't think Houdini side effects has ever really done any like plugin purchase. Like we usually try to build everything from the ground up. And so that really isn't, yeah, I mean, that isn't really something that I don't think that's something that the company has ever really thought about super hard, but, I know that plugin, like, I feel like people love it and it's gotten better and better. So hopefully it'll just feel more and more like it's almost like a vanilla, like a vanilla, part of Houdini. Oh, there it is. I just saw the unsubdivide thing. It's right there. It's right above the SIGGRAPH logo. It's right here at the bottom. Unsubdivide node to reduce the resolution of previously subdivided meshes. So that's pretty fun. Can just hire this guy to build it again. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot of honestly, you'd be surprised how much there's a ton of internal conversations about how things are done. Like this is the way, on a super basic level, like in C++ and things like that. Like this is how we do this, and this. So, yeah, there's usually a lot of that type of stuff. So Fractaler is just saying having the plugins as extra is better. I think helps the dev separately than implementing it. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways you can go about it. I think the nice thing is that Houdini kind of doesn't need to have a ton of plugins, and really a lot of the plugins are, you can build your own plugins and do C++ stuff and all that type of thing. But a lot of times it's just setups like HDAs that people have built, right? And those are great, super helpful. So, so that's kind of the nice thing, is that plugins aren't unless you have something super unique that you're doing, plugins really are usually just using the building blocks of Houdini in a very specific way to do things. So, so yeah. Fractaler says, I don't want bajillions of plugins like 3ds Max, please. Yeah, I've used 3ds Max now, gosh, getting too close to 2 decades ago. And I've never used Blender, but I've heard there's a lot of plugins for Blender. So yeah, I'm not wouldn't be a big fan of that either. It sounds like a nightmare trying to keep it all up to date. So yeah, I think this curve thing is going to be really cool in what do you call it, in Copernicus, and it'll make it, I think, a lot easier to be able to do some really nice things quickly. This is pretty cool here, doing the curve 3D, and you've got the segment lengths and all that kind of stuff. And then here, you can see that you can sort of change the way that these elements are over top or below, kind of cool, kind of a cool little detail there. You can actually sort them and stuff like that in 3D. Again, Copernicus is a 3D thing. You can see they just turned it into they just moved it into 3D view like that, like a perspective view. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. Oh, Shred, you're asking, is using plugins frowned upon in professional workflows? Nah, I don't know. I mean, when I was learning Houdini, when I was learning just motion graphics, I always kind of thought plugins are just a hacky, a quick fix way of doing it. You want to do the real thing. But No, I think that's a weird mindset that came from a long time ago. I mean, maybe in some studios they would rather build their own tools, and that could be valid for various reasons, for pipeline reasons. But I think as a professional, if you don't have like developers like in house, like nah, plugins, use them. Like they're there for a reason. I mean, obviously using a million plugins that are just like so much I have to keep up with, that could be a pain. But or it could be annoying. But no, plugins are good. No reason to like worry about it. I thought this was already available, but the leveling thing is so nice. I'm not sure what you mean by the leveling thing. Maybe like put it like changing the level of it. Maybe that's what you mean. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And this again is in Copernicus, this curve tool. So this is the curve tool in Copernicus. So it's like a Copernicus implementation of it. So you might be able to do that. You could do that in regular curve tool, like in SOPs, but in Copernicus, I don't think there was a curve tool. So I don't think it could have existed, but you could have imported a curve from SOPs, but this makes you don't have to. So it's just they're in there, right? They're in there as geometry. So that's kind of nice. So yeah, so we've got that. What else? What else is in here? Let's see here. Layer from curves. Cool. Let's go. Does the milk and cookies thing, is it something new? Well, I was talking about that a little bit earlier. It's not that it's like new. I think it just shows that the enhancements are like for like the more rigid breaking stuff. Like there's a lot of like you can, if you've used it before and you like if you used npm before and you had stuff breaking, it's kind of always a question of like, how do I deal with that? Like how do I surface that? How do I like manage the pieces? Like I want to keep pieces together and they kind of just wants to break apart. So I think that is kind of the thing that they're showing. I mean, Peter definitely, like not this Peter, but this other Peter, the pro Peter, really showed off like some serious skills here. So it's pretty cool. Everybody's like loving this. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's mainly what the update here is that like the rigid stuff is a little bit easier to deal with. Also, I think they mention it here. The continuous emission with overlapping expansion. If you're used to doing anything with like volumes, expansion is usually like puffing out. So in that case, the expansion would have to be, because the whipped cream starts at a small size and gets bigger, so it would have to like expand out, right? And so I think that's what they mean by the overlapping expansion, because the expansion is like kind of pushing out from that star-shaped like nozzle on the whipped cream thing. But yeah, dang, does that make me hungry? Holy cow, I just want to eat that so bad. And again, just to reiterate, there's going to be a SIGGRAPH talk on this, so that should be pretty cool. I'm not going to be at SIGGRAPH, but I'm really looking forward to that video being released and everything. And since this is something that Side Effects obviously had commissioned for the release, it is going to be recorded and played back. It is not like a special thing like, Weta didn't want to show a thing about Avengers or whatever. Like, no, this whole thing will get released for sure. So very exciting. Yeah, so that's cool. Oh, another thing that I think is pretty neat here is this auto rigger. So I think this is really cool. Like the pre-built or custom rig components to characters, like that is super interesting. Like you're just like basically throwing skeletal pieces in there and like adding them all together. And I think it's just super awesome. Especially for somebody like me who isn't a rigger. So like, as long as I had to do something that's like fairly straightforward, this is something that I feel like would be super helpful. And I think this should work for I don't know if it'll work for like quadrupeds. I hope it will. Probably will, but that would be something cool too, because I know a lot of people ask about that, like, oh, we've got this for bipeds, but what about quadrupeds and blah blah, things like that. So hopefully this will address some of that stuff. I actually, to be honest, I hadn't seen any of this UI before this video, so it's pretty cool. I think it's really awesome. And obviously there's lots of stuff in here for for doing what do you call it, like symmetric stuff. There's also these like really cool little like icons and stuff in here, which are pretty neat. I think those will be probably stuff with like changing like showing where FK is, or like showing where IK is on the rig. So I think that's kind of cool. And I like how everything like follows along with it. I'm sure this is like normal stuff for other rigging applications. Obviously this is sort of new for Houdini. So I'm kind of learning this stuff because I need to kind of professionally, and never needed to before. And I've seen this type of thing in other software as well. It just seems like it's starting to get there where it's like, this could be a real like usable tool for more super pro like setups. So yeah, somebody says, Fractaler says, isn't it a Velociraptor in the UI? Yeah, but I think it's a T-Rex or something. Yeah, maybe it's a Velociraptor, but a Velociraptor is a biped, right? It's not a quadruped. I mean, it's no more quadruped than a human is. I mean, it's got arms and legs. So yeah, I don't know. But I mean, Apex is sort of like, as long as things are tagged properly, you've got arms and legs and all that kind of stuff. So I would think it should be fine. Like, I don't know. Fractaler also said having this level of help is going to be so fun when learning rigging with Apex. Yeah, for sure. I think the whole idea here is to make the barrier to entry lower, right? Because obviously the Wētas and the Disneys and the Pixars and those kind of places are going to have their own tools and their own thing. And obviously they're not using Houdini for rigging right now. Like, they've got their own tools. And like mid-sized studios, they might have other softwares and stuff like that. But like for somebody that's like brand new to this stuff, like these are the things that are going to be really helpful. And like the mid-sized studios, obviously we'd love for them to switch over to Houdini and use it for rigging and animation, but like they're not going to use this tool. Probably they'll build their own tool, right? But like for the small studios, for like the indie people, like this is the kind of stuff that's going to help you get a quick rig built. Whereas like it's going to take you a while to put together a rig if you've never done it before, or even if you're just casually have done it once or twice. Like, this is going to be killer. This little robot guy is super cute, by the way. I like him. And this just looks fun. I'm guessing this has got to be animated by Warren, because Warren's a great animator, and it's so crazy to take one control. Like, obviously it's like posed, but to take one control and basically like make something that looks cooler than like anything that I've ever done. Obviously there's some more keys in that, but like I could never do an animation that cool. And like, you just move a little thing around and he kind of rocks out with his little Stratocaster there. Anyways, Shred just said, I learned rigging in Maya like a decade ago, and it took a whole semester, and then I never used any of that knowledge again. Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal. Well, learning stuff is always helpful, because, at least you understand weighting and that type of stuff, and like how controls should work and rigs and things like that. I mean, if you use it again or not immediately, that's, one thing, but like, yeah, lots of, I'm sure that's a lot of stuff to learn. So I think this is kind of cool too. Pyro thruster exhaust, no sim required. So that's pretty neat. Some sort of non-simulation based like volumetric output here. So it's obviously some sort of like procedural preset that's going to be able to do like thruster exhaust. So I'm guessing that's going to be sort of like the burst sources, right, that exist in there, but it'll be thruster based and have different attributes for like the heat haze and that different stuff. So it should be cool. Like that's nice to not have to do a sim for that, to be honest. Cause it's not a huge amount of computation, but it's time, it's time that'll take. Yeah. Shelf tool type thing. It'll probably be one of those configure nodes, like a recipe type thing. Yeah. So that's pretty cool too. That's definitely like a nice, little feature there. What else is in here? Oh, this is kind of interesting here. I've done some terrain stuff, not a ton. Probably never professionally, but this is kind of cool that you can now use cops to like modify all these things. So you've got your height map, and then what was that at the end of it there? I'm kind of curious about what that node was at the end. Height field visualize. Oh, this is in cops. Cool. Let's see here. So there's a height field visualize in cops, so that's kind of cool. Oh, went too far. Let's see here. Just want to see what that last output was, like what they're outputting there. Yeah, it looks like it's a height field visualize. So that's kind of cool. So there's a height field visualize in here now that lets you, just like the material preview, it's kind of like that except with height fields, I'm guessing. So that's cool. Very nice. So you can do all these like modifications to height fields in Copernicus. So you could like soften things up that way, or like, you know, I guess paint stuff on height fields or anything like that. So Shred Major, I think I probably could pick it up like riding a bike, but I have crazy resistance to it now. Yeah, the rigging thing for sure. Yeah, there's lots of new noises in here too. This and like things I've never heard of before, like phaser noise. What else is there? There's a couple other things in here I want to say. Cop Baker. That's kind of cool. It's like you can bake out stuff from cops, I guess, in a different way here. So that's kind of neat, like meshes and things like that, like baking. So that's kind of cool. That probably would be really useful for like games workflows, I would think. I think that's the kind of stuff that's useful for. Yeah. Oh shoot, now I'm forgetting there was one thing that I know what it was. Let's see here. I think it was in the karma section. There's something I'm very excited about in here. Where was it? Karma. Chameleon. Sorry. Okay. Karma CPU XP. I think it actually comes up at the end here, if I'm remembering correctly. Where is it? Ooh. I'm trying to figure out what I was hearing outside there. A little storm coming through. There it is at the very top. Might be hard to read, but it's right up here. It says dedicated whitewater shader. I think that's really exciting because I've had questions about that, and I'm always like, I don't know. It's raining, and the dog's like, it's raining outside. So yeah, so that's exciting. 16 material layer shading. Where'd you see that? Yep, I think you're right. Ability to blend up to 16 material like standard surfaces. Yep. I mean, 16 is a lot. You might want to might want to have a think about doing that, but certainly is possible. Certainly possible. Yeah, so there you go. Not just 2 anymore. So that's very exciting. 4 was confusing. I don't know what that means. 4 was confusing. Maybe you mean being able to mix 4 materials? BSDF mix and let's go. Oh, I'm not smart enough with all my shader knowledge to know how to do all the BSDF stuff and all those like low level nodes. I'm just not smart enough. Dog's a little worried about the storm, I think. That's poor guy. Yes, so that's pretty cool. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a lot of A lot of changes in here for sure. Hey Zach, how's it going? How's it going? Nice to see you. Um, yeah, there's like a ton of stuff in back in there and behind Karma and CPU. So yeah, see if you can see it in there. It's a little tricky. Um, oh, that was something that I didn't go back and look at here. There's the where was it? Here. Volume like the mesh lights, geometry lights. Very exciting. I think this is like it seems really silly and not a like might not seem like a huge deal, but it's really nice and makes meshes work more like lights because right now really all we had was like emissive materials. So now having actual geometry lights is great because they're geometry lights. So there's some cool stuff there that makes that workflow a lot nicer. Um, yeah, like this alpha matte from Primvars, I think, is pretty cool. This seemed like I don't know, like fur, dirt, and wetness controls, kind of cool. Got a wet character, could be helpful. Um, yeah, lots of cool stuff here. So yeah, let me see what else do we got here. Well, I think I've like kind of covered most of the main sections. So, yeah, please, if you have any questions or thoughts or like curiosities about things or like observations, please feel free to put them in the chat. If you would like to join the Discord server, you can go to HoudiniHangout.com. Sorry, brain fart. You can go to HoudiniHangout.com. There's a Discord invite link there, and you can go to the server from there. Am I allowed to talk about the pyro recipes being added? Well, I think we can look at them and take a look at what's going on here. So where were those? They went by quick. Where were they? Sorry, trying to remember. Oh, there they are. Yeah, let's go through them. Let's take a look at what we got. Well, I think if you look at some of these, they're going to be really similar to like ones that already exist. They're just nicer. Like, there you go. There's like an aerial burst like we had before. Here's like an aerial downwards burst and like an upwards explosion. Here's some more different like bursts on the ground, like ground explosions. Like laminar kind of like smoke coming off of like a blown out candle or something like that. That looks really nice. And there's like this like heat haze in here, which I must get passed into karma somehow to like affect like chromatic aberration, or maybe that's done in Copernicus. Not sure, but that's kind of cool. Got some like heat haze in there, and yeah, these look great. Um, yeah, cool like dust, like falling like dust bursts. I mean, these again are very similar to things that you could have done before. They're just really nice little elements. Oh, that's interesting. That's like looks like particles almost. Like there's like lines in there. I didn't even notice that before. It's kind of interesting. I'm not sure what exactly the deal is with that. Fire, just nice looking fire. Some NPR fire, which is cool. Just really nice looking sim of a candle, which is cool. Like the dry ice look. That's always I feel like a little tricky to figure out. That'll be nice to like get some really good like starting points from that. I think it'll be really cool. And then this is the machine learning pyro stuff. And yeah, so the way that this works is I think out of the box, this is the billowy smoke up-res recipe. And I think if you want to have other types of like other up-resing of other types of pyro, you can build your, this like shows you kind of how to build that inference setup and stuff like that. So for other machine learning stuff. So kind of cool. Shred saying, yeah, the NPR style render one looks exciting. Yeah, I agree. I think NPR stuff is really neat. And hope, like I think NPR stuff will obviously, like with Copernicus, we showed a lot of that stuff. Hey, cool. Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Obviously in the last release, I think they showed that really neat, burner that was like NPR'd basically from like an actual like pyrosim. So it's kind of cool that you could now, maybe even do that type of an NPR like sim without simming. Like you've got the thrusters type thing. Maybe that would work for it. So there's some cool new stuff here, to go along with it. Oh yeah, Tyler's saying, how does the ML upres look when it animates? Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Like, you can see here that it's frame independent, but you can like, yeah, here's the difference between the two. And like, I don't know, like you can see the difference, but in motion, it certainly isn't like the most obvious thing in the world that one was up-res and one wasn't, like if you stop and look at the individual frames, like there's probably stuff that gives it away, like some of these like weird little bits and pieces in there. But I think the fire really shows, what's going on there. But yeah, so lots of interesting stuff there. Fractal is saying I would, yeah, we're talking about the new Houdini 21 stuff, cool VFX. So yeah, if you have any thoughts or questions about it, that's what we're chatting about. Fractal is saying I would imagine it would be cached. Yeah, I think with the training stuff, it would actually, yeah. See here, if you look at this closely, it says ML train volume upres, and over here is ML volume upres. So over here, you're just gonna load it, and it's frame independent. So yeah, you would cache it at like a low quality, and just upres it as needed. And really, the idea here, I think, is that I think it's really about like the settings on the Pyro sim itself. I think that is what trains the model, right? So like how much disturbance and how much this and that you have, right? And so once you've kind of trained that in your simulation, I think you would, I don't know the exact details of it, but I think that could be, I think it should be a really neat feature. And I know that people that I talked to after seeing the thing at FMX, they seemed really excited about it. So I think it's going to be a really good way to kind of use machine learning type stuff, and have control over it. Cool VFX. I have extreme question that's really killing me. So yes. So the question there is how could a 96 core be slower than a 64 core on simulations? And the question there, the thing is always, on some level, you have single threaded stuff. And so if your single thread is actually slower in the super high core count GPUs. So that's something to keep in mind when you're dealing with those things. So that's probably where you're finding slowness. It's not the fact that the actual chip is slower. It's that when you're doing single threaded stuff, it's going to be slower in those cases. So yeah, you might find that in certain instances. Carlos is saying, I've seen a few VDV volume compression tools for sale. Do you see this coming into Houdini in the future? I mean, possibly, yeah. I mean, it's there certainly are a couple of ones that are out there. There's actually there, so it's Zebra VDB, which I've actually played around with like just really quickly, and it's so easy to use. It's super super easy. So I think that's awesome. And those are the types of machine learning things that make sense for like who cares about how you're saving your VDB file? Like yeah, let's machine learn it. Let's quote unquote AI that. Like it's not AI, it's just a machine learning thing, but let's do that, you know? And those are the things that I think are really, really exciting, and actually applicable to artists. So, yeah, so for, so yeah, I could certainly see something like that being something that the developers would be interested in messing around with in the future. Yeah, I think that would be really possible for sure. So cool. I kind of realizing what you're saying is somebody able to test those two CPUs out. I don't honestly think that anybody at Side Effects has either of those CPUs. Maybe someone does, but it's like my recommendation for most people is don't try to go with the crazy highest core counts. If you want fast sims and fast rendering, get a good like middle of the road high, get a 9950 or a 9960 or a 9970 chip, and then get a few GPUs that you can render with, right? Like save that money, get a couple other GPUs, and use that. So that would be my suggestion. Don't go all in on the CPU, because CPUs, there's so many different ways that they're used, right? GPUs are kind of a one-trick pony, and they're like when you can use them all the way usually. So yeah, and you're gonna get way faster render times probably with that than you would. Your simulation times aren't really going to speed that up that much, I don't think, if you have like having something that's balanced between its multi-core and your single core is going to be a lot more useful in Houdini than something that's like all multi-core. So just something to think about. Cool. Yeah, what else do we have here? Oh yeah, there was a couple other ML upres stuff. So obviously these are ML upresed, so that's kind of cool. And this one is as well, so that's kind of neat. You see there's a bunch more detail in some of these, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, let's see here. Anything else that we can chat about? I think the muscle stuff is cool. Certainly really interesting. New kind of like way of doing some solving for that. Looks really like high quality, so that's kind of cool. Like a tissue solver. Otto, a new character, so that's kind of cool. That's just kind of disturbing, but it's cool. And yeah, he's got all those like bones and stuff inside of him, which I think is really neat. And muscles and fat and things like that. And this is like blending between a small character and a large character, so it's like you can like transfer the geometry between them. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can do all that stuff. Yeah, the liquid surface tension is nice. Yeah, I agree. That stuff is really hard to do. So having NPM be able to, I think in Flip that's like pretty tricky. So having something, in NPM to be able to do that is really exciting. Yes, exactly. So Zach, you're saying, where do the muscles come from? Do they need to be modeled? Yes, they do. So that is a big, big ask. And so with Otto having all these muscles inside of him as like a test geometry, you could see here, this is like blending between, this is Otto with his muscles and some other gigantic character that doesn't have maybe bones or muscles or anything like that. And so blending between those two, as a way to like transfer muscle and bones between the characters. So that could be, super helpful if you have a character that's, say, similar topology. Yeah, Otto's a new asset. That's what it said there. Right here. If I can make this go away. Yeah, fully muscle and tissue rigged human with bone geometry. So that's Otto. So yeah, you can use that to kind of, if you have a different character, you could transfer it over. So no rigging? No, you still got to rig. You still got a rig, but we were talking about that a little bit before. There is the new auto rigging in KineFX Apex, where you can do some nice rigging stuff here pretty quickly. Not automatic, but pretty quick. Yes, auto rig feature is here. Exactly. Cool was saying never touch muscle, but I think they're sped up sims with it a lot. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to be. I think I would guess it's all still because the whole thing switched over to Vellum, kind of under the hood. So this Otis, I think, is like, yeah, it's GPU accelerated. So yeah, OpenCL. Yeah, we don't do anything other than OpenCL as far as I know of. But yeah, like that's yeah, so it's all like GPU accelerated in there. So I think it has to do sort of with Vellum, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, Maitland, welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Yeah. So the muscle stuff is cool. This is very on brand for me right now with my dog. So it's kind of fun to see all the muscles and bones and things like that. Also, it's kind of cool. I just noticed this at the bottom. The mocap is courtesy of University of Portsmouth, whatever CCIXR. So it's cool. So it's actual dog mocap, which is, I tried to find it once and it's really hard to find dog mocap. So maybe they released some recently, which is cool. Fractaler is saying muscle modeling is so amazing. Always been fascinated by the system and the impact on realism. Yeah, muscle stuff is crazy. Like I think it depends on the character, right? Like a character that you see its muscles like actually firing and moving and stuff like that. Like something like this Doberman that's like really lean. I feel like it makes a lot more than just like a normal human character that like maybe doesn't like. I feel like the skin solving is actually sometimes more important there because it's just kind of like you don't really like, I'm not like, you don't see all of your muscles like triggering and stuff like that. So yeah, so like for a humanoid might not be as distinct, but something that's like really lean like this, yeah, the muscles make a huge difference. Maitland saying, did they mocap the muscles too? No. No, that would all be all of the muscles and stuff would get. I think you would deform it like using the skeleton, right? Like you would with any other part of the character, right? The skin, the fat, the bones, that stuff would all get, would all get deformed by the by something in the animation side of things. Horses, short-haired doggos, monkeys, even humans. Yeah, those would all be like like I think a lot of animals are like really, really muscular. Anything you're gonna see it a lot more than like someone that's like mediumly like built, right? Yeah. So the rig skeleton drives the skeleton, I think, and then the skeleton probably drives the muscles, and then the muscles drive the skin. So it's like you have to have like all these layers. Kind of all solving together. And I think from what I'm seeing here, it looks like the Otis is like, I think taking kind of all of that into account at once. Like it looks like it's all in here. Like they're all's being simulated together. So yeah, pretty cool. If the humanoid is Arnold. Yeah, exactly. Arnold. I was at an Arnold event one time, a long time ago, before I was ever like actually working in like the true VFX industry. I was at forget how I got a ticket to it. Oh, my friend got me one. He was actually there and he got us tickets to the Arnold event, and there's an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonator there, and it was so corny and silly. It's pretty good. Fractaler, my doggo is built like the Rock. She's a Jack Russell mix. It'd be great exercise one day. Yeah, Jack Russells, man. Those things, I've seen them like almost do like the Matrix up the wall, like if they get the zoomies. Like those things, they're so light, but they're so muscular, they can just do crazy stuff. Yeah. So funny. A friend of mine had one, and I remember he'd get the zoomies and just run all over the place. Yeah, this skin sliding thing is interesting. I don't really know what the difference is there. Skin deform. Maybe it's just like a deformer. I actually have no clue about that, but it's kind of cool. Like skin deformation, sliding stuff. Kind of cool. She's 100% zoomies. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. They do have a lot of energy, man. They have a lot of energy for sure. All right. Any other questions? Oh, maybe it's yeah, Maitland, you're just saying it's UV staying square. Maybe that's what it is. Yes, you might be right. Yeah, I hadn't really noticed that. Yeah, they slide more than they're actually like just stretching like uncontrollably in like weird ways. Yeah, that's that's probably right that it's like sliding versus stretching. I mean, obviously there's deformation to it. Like it's not perfectly square, but it's like more reasonable. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, Axis, welcome. Nice to have you. Um, yeah, so lots of stuff here that we kind of have gone over. I know some of you are just joining now. Yeah, yeah. Right, I see what you're saying, Fractaler. Yeah. Um, it's more skin sliding, not UVs. Right. I guess they're not really showing that it's the UVs, but it's showing how the skin is moving by like displaying the UVs, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I see what you're saying for sure. Um, is your hand itching to try 21? Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, yeah, it's gonna be I think a good release. Lots of cool stuff here. The sculpting on posed characters is what I'm into now. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I mean, people really didn't have a huge bunch of questions about it, but I think this is going to be really cool for all the motion graphic stuff because yeah, it's like a super fast 2D like fluid solver. It's cool. It's really neat. I think it'll be a lot of like the motion graphics community will really get into this. I mean, you can just see all of like the ways that you could start messing with this, right? I mean, anything that's like that you're dealing with in like 2D. I don't know. There's just so many ways you can go through and mess with all these different things. It's pretty cool. So I really wish it's as live as they say. I really wish that. I think it's really fast. I'm like it's pretty fast. Um and the live simulation control is cool. It's very cool. I won't say anything about that because they didn't really show it here, but it is cool. It's pretty cool. It is. I don't know. Cool. What you're saying? It is new. Oh, pipelines maybe, and of course new bags. I'm not sure what you're saying there, but yeah, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, the live part is nice, very nice. But yeah, all these like little demos here are just so fun, like super fun. Super fun. Now, obviously, if you're like integrating it into other solvers and stuff like that, there's going to be that's going to take time. But the actual fluid solver, of course. Oh, new bag of problems. Yeah, for sure. Yep, you always run into new problems, of course. So like obviously the flow solver is like a 2D thing in Copernicus, right? Like it's staying on the grid, right? Um, and and then like stuff like this where you're getting into 3D is going to have to integrate with other solvers, right? Like other grains and things like that, right? So I think what they're doing here is they're using the flow solver to like create velocities and interesting sourcing for like doing stuff in here, right? Like moving moving these elements around and stuff like that using a fast like fluid solver. Don't forget about the new comp stuff. Yeah, like all the Copernicus stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of new Copernicus stuff for sure. New textures and materials and things like that. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. This page is really interesting to me because these are like masks, like grunge things, but I'm guessing there's some parameters to them. I'm not 100% sure how these would work. I mean, it's kind of interesting to me. Like, yeah, could be kind of neat to see these all like have different parameters. I'm not sure how exactly that'll work, but certainly lots of grunge stuff is super helpful, and new noises and things like that. So yeah, lots of noises, right? It said MC Escher tessellations in there. Maybe. Is that in the end maybe? I don't think there's anything in there before. Let's see. Oh yeah. Wow, that's one click and you're through it. Apex, CFX, geometry, pyro, MPM. Oh, right. What cool is finally you could read simply, double click on the texture and viewport how it looks like mask or procedural texture. Yeah, I think it's yeah, I thought I saw that at the end. Let me see. Yeah, it's probably at the end here. Copernicus. Yeah, there's a bunch of noise types here. Chladni, phaser, bubble, cloud, crystal. Double click on texture. Yeah, I'm not sure about that workflow. I haven't used cops all that much. I mean, I've used it a little, but I don't really have a lot of reasons to mess around with it. So this is kind of an interesting line. Post image filtering in advanced slap comp exposed in Solaris. That's kind of interesting. Here's where it is. Tile mosaics and Escher style pattern generations with hyperbolic functions. Yeah, so like weird tiling and things like that, noise. So like really the best, like, yep, it says it exactly. I didn't realize that they said it like that. That's funny. Yeah, so lots of stuff that's, you know, maybe towards being a real compositor, but still focused on textures, right? Like, so it's kind of, you know, it's not a compositor. It's all about texture generation right now. So, yes, that is, yes, the real-time capturing and processing of live video is pretty trippy. I've seen some of that. It's pretty weird. Very interesting. So yeah, I ended up at the Escher archive at Stanford for days. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think it's exactly MC Escher, but it certainly is really weird mosaics. I'll say that much. Really weird tiles. Metal Gear saying can't wait for the muscle sim stuff. Yeah, the muscle sim stuff will be really interesting. Yeah, so lots of crazy things. Everything I imagined is coming together. I'll wait calmly. That's awesome. Yeah, lots of like, obviously you can see here. I mean, look at how long Copernicus is. There's lots of stuff there. That's always the most active like development channel like in Slack is always Copernicus and animation. Just constant. Couple cool things in here. This is a good line. Molten VK support on Mac OS. So people have been hoping for that. So that's kind of cool. And of course, we never see this on Studio because we love stable Houdini. Yeah, the studios are always a little bit behind, but it just makes it more fun when you do get the features finally. Yeah, so there's some cool things in here. Ray traced ambient occlusion, geometry and area lights with denoising. That's pretty cool. Yeah, let's see what else we've got here. Anything else fun to look at here? Oh, one thing I didn't mention at all, which I don't know how I missed it. this one. I feel like this one goes under the radar a little bit, but I think it's going to be good. Neural point surface. I think it's going to be good. I think it's a good one. Like here, like look at this. This is the part that I think like really sells it. If you look at this one here, let's just slow it down a little bit. So this is cool. Like, yep, fluid, right? There it is. Okay, it's really kind of ripply there, a lot smoother there. Cool, nice details. Here, look at all these pieces. Look at the flickers. Look at the no flickers. Flickers, no flickers. No flickers. I think this is going to be really cool and people are going to love this. Because again, what is something that is just annoying that you always have to do and you take all these times tweaking little parameters and you're like, gosh, shoot, can I get this to work? Can I not? Surfacing, fluid surfacing. It's just such a pain. And so, yeah, I think this will be a good one. Looks nice. Oh, you said surface tension, but you meant surface flickering. Yes. Got it. Yeah, for sure. So is the machine learning stuff using Onyx or is it NVIDIA stuff? So the I think as far as I know, it's all Onyx because it's just inference, right? So like the model and then it's just the Onyx inference. So there's some pre-trained models in there, but then it's all inference with yeah, I don't think anything being shipped here is anything like if NVIDIA has like libraries of like, I don't know, like surfacing stuff, it wouldn't be that. It's stuff that we've actually built so that we actually own it, I think. Like setups and things like that we've actually trained. Is NPS a meshing algorithm or is it a render time thing? I'm going to plead the fifth on that one. I don't want to say what it is or what it isn't because it's not defined nicely here. Yeah. Oh, still don't have an NVIDIA GPU. And if it was NVIDIA, they would shout it on all roofs. Oh, NVIDIA. Yeah. I hate having to buy their stuff, honestly. Like feel forced to because it's like, hey, if you want your renderer to work, here, let's go to the end here and see if we can find anything here about the okay, CFX, no. Geometry, anything in here about that? I'm guessing it's going to be in here. It's all right there. Let's see. ML based animated particle surfacing for enhanced realism. Dual benefit of improved detail sharpness and surface smoothness. Better quality and detail preservation than analytical method on same datasets. Markedly robust and frame coherent. Partitioning support for massive point clouds. 4 pre-trained material presets for quick results. Custom user-trained models for tailored surfacing allowed. Training network available in context library. Sorry, I'm reading those because you guys can't read them. So that's what I'll say about it. There you go. Yeah, enhance. I wish I had like real-time updating stuff, yeah. Bought the 4090, which was a great value, disappointed by the 5000. Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, if I was updating, I would buy the 5,000 because it's going to be the same price basically. But yeah, if you're going between those two versions, there's probably not a huge reason to do it. Um, I have a 3,000 series. That's why I'm saying that it would be a big benefit for me. And probably would cost me the same to get a 4,000. So, um, yeah, I love some of the stuff that NVIDIA does, but I hate the lockdown mode. Yep. For open standards. Sure, sure. I think that's the thing that really excites me. Like, even with that neural point surfacing, we make it so that you can train your own model and then just add it in there and it's just there. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Maybe we finally do all water solvers on GPU. That would be tricky because water, I mean, you can there. So NPM is a GPU solver, right? But like, if you run out of GPU memory, you're up a creek. You're in trouble. So all fluid simulations on GPU is just not going to be not going to work. Will I be streaming up next week? Yeah, I'm not going to SIGGRAPH, so yes, for sure. It's not the 14th, isn't it? The 13th. Yes, the 13th is next week. Sorry, you're probably in a different time zone, so you're just thinking the different day. Yeah. Oh, anyone have AMD GPUs using Houdini here? So when I first bought this machine, I had an AMD, what is it? It was like a VII, like 7 in Roman numerals. And it was awesome for like simulations. Obviously I couldn't do any rendering stuff with it, but I loved it for simulations. I actually think it was faster for any GPU related stuff because it had, it had better dual floating point precision than my NVIDIA 3090 did. So, how will fluids on GPU not work? While Django FX fluids are running on GPU. So the Django FX stuff isn't there's a lot of limitations on what the Django FX stuff can do. It's not going to be completely like open. Like you can't do every single thing that you'd want to do with it because in order to fit like volumetric grids on the it would have to be a totally different technology or something, but like fitting all that data onto the GPU is the problem. And I've never seen like a Django FX thing where they're doing like a Maelstrom from like Pirates of the Caribbean or like Avatar. You know what I mean? Like there's a level at which that stuff can work, and then there's a level at which it's just like you need CPU run it on a CPU because you're just going to run out of memory. So it's really a memory thing, honestly. I mean, if a GPU could have as much RAM as you could on a CPU, I mean, if you could have a GPU with 256 gigs of RAM, a terabyte of RAM, okay, sure, then you could do it, no problem. But I think that's the problem, is just running out of memory, honestly. And they're doing a lot of stuff for like, I think what the Django FX stuff does is they do some, like, if you've looked at like the minimal solver type, 96 gig. Yeah, that is nice. I mean, if you got the money for it, go for it. Well, no, times 2 doesn't work because it doesn't duplicate the RAM. The RAM is not shared between them. But anyways, yeah, I think they're doing some stuff like kind of like the Vellum minimal solver, because like when you do the fluid minimal solver, it's a lot faster for Vellum, but like there's some constraint stuffs that don't work and things like that in there and things of that nature. So if you're like letting go of some of the features of like fully detailed solver stuff, then yeah, you can do bigger stuff. Like you could do more things, but you have less control. So it's like always that like triangle, right? Like good, fast, cheap. You know what I mean? Like unless there's some huge update, like you really can never, no, you can do flip with OpenCL. It's just, you can run out of memory. Like you can run out of memory, and only parts of it are OpenCL. It's not going to be across the whole board. Right. So, certain steps of it, certain projection steps, I think, are OpenCL versus others. So yeah. Cool. I'm just gonna go back to full screen here so you're not looking at just my little tiny face. Let's see here. So I'm just gonna try to read through some of these other comments while you guys are going here. RAM seems cheaper in recent years. Yeah, regular RAM, well, some of it's cheaper, but yeah, definitely cheaper than a big GPU with tons of RAM. I think you might have on Apple Mini Studio 128 gigs. Yeah, but you also then are sharing your RAM between your CPU and your GPU, so it's tricky too. George is asking if one was to do a tsunami, what would be a good way to start off, VDB or USD workflow? If you were doing a tsunami, you would basically, the simulation stuff would all be the same as normal, and then once you're ready to bring it over into Solaris, that's where you make a choice, like surfacing and things like that. You would probably save those like surfaces, like any like actual hard fluid surfaces, save those out as a USD file so that you can import it quickly, and because those are going to be massive, and you don't want to import all that data from SOPs. It's just going to be slow to a crawl. So you bake that out and into a USD, and you can import, like if you have like a density field like inside of the water, so that you've got like the depth being seen in there. If you export that as a VDB, USD, like Solaris USD has a VDB reading plugin, so you can just import a VDB right into Solaris. There's no need to change it from a VDB. So it's kind of a mix. Like you wouldn't never start any simulations in Solaris. Like that doesn't make sense. Like do it in SOPs and then export it or bring it in or whatever. USD is kind of the end stage. It's not like you're going to work all in USD like the whole time. Yeah, no problem, George. Nice to hear from you. Yeah, so I think we're probably getting maybe to the end of things here. Seems like everybody's just kind of chatting different things about hardware and things like that. But yeah, if anybody has any final like thoughts about H21, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll just kind of keep going for a little bit here and see when's a good time to wrap up here. Cool VFX, you're saying, are you happy with Karma experience? Yeah, I mean, for me, I was originally thinking... Yes, the dog has actually a chew. I gave the dog a chew. So yes, the dog's all set. Am I happy with Karma? Yeah, I was actually originally thinking I was going to get Redshift when I first started the stream before I was even working at Side Effects or anything like that. I was thinking, I need to get Redshift because I'm going to use that for doing rendering on the stream, because Mantra wasn't really a thing and I had to pay for something probably to get a good render. Yeah, so for me, I love Karma, honestly. Like I've had great success, like great time using it. I'm actually doing a whole course on like introductory stuff to Karma right now. And yeah, I find it to be really, really good. And like in my experience, it's been pretty stable in the next version. And so, yeah, it's been good. I think there's obviously some catching up to do. Like it's not as full featured as Arnold, but it's got a ton of stuff in it. There's lots of cool new features coming in there now too. Yeah, Karma's free with Houdini. And if you want more licenses past like a certain allowance that you get with I think you get like 10 with an effects license. I don't know how many you get with Indie, maybe 3, but you get a few with it. So you can have like a small little render farm if you need or whatever. But, yeah, it's, I like Karma. It's been good. Yeah, Tyler, no problem for the stream. Glad to have you. Maitland saying, I like to jump back and forth between SOPs and Solaris. Yeah, it's nice to see the version. Yeah, exactly. You just have to be smart about it. You don't want to be importing everything. Like you have to be really careful with like time dependencies in Solaris, because that can really slow everything down. Really cool stream. Thanks for sharing everything with us. Yeah, no problem. glad to have you all here, and hopefully you had fun kind of going through some of the. Hey Chris, how's it going? Yeah, Chris did a whole stream kind of like this. Houdini releases are better than Christmas. Yeah, for sure. Chris, that was awesome. I was watching through your little chat with what was it, mograph.com, I think. That was pretty awesome. Go check out Chris if you want to see him chatting about stuff too. He's got probably from the character side of things, he's got some great insight, I'm sure. So yeah, go check out that video too. Nice to see you there, man. Birdaid, how's the Octane collaboration coming up? I don't know anything about that. Can't even answer that if I wanted to. Let's see. Anything Houdini releases. I love that. Houdini releases are better than Christmas. I literally said that to my in-laws. They're at a county fair right now with my wife, and I was like, I'll be at home, but I'll be talking about our new software release, and was like, and showed him stuff. I'm like, it's like nerd Christmas. It's great. Maitland, yeah, I have the big green clock badge on time dependent notes. Good man. Yes, sir. Yes, good job. That's it. That's the one. Very good. All right, everybody. Well, I think we're kind of hitting the end here. So yeah. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. Sorry if you just got here. Maybe Chris just got here, but welcome. Thanks for joining late. You can always rewind and watch the chat again. But yeah, always good to have you folks here. And yeah, that's I think that'll be it for today. So again, if you guys nice, Chris. If you guys want to join the Discord server, HoudiniHangout.com has an invite link there. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you on there. Lots of great questions recently on there. So yeah, that should be it for us today. Always a nice, fun one. There's going to be some cool guests coming up soon, so keep an eye out for those announcements. Maybe even one for next week. So it should be pretty cool. So until then, everybody have a great rest of your day, night, morning, whatever time it may be. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody. See you all next week. Bye.